keep thinking maybe like a Gen Z today. And also since I own 100% of the business, call it View Luxury and Technology, which in those times were like an oxymoron. So I do come from what people would call being a Nepo baby. I really admire that they are not the kind, none of the leaders in India is like, meko Ranveer Singh banne ka hai. I feel like, now I'm thinking, what do I do next new? Till we became this behemoth and literally kicked everyone's ass. This bomb went under you now. You didn't even know what you got yourself into. By the age of 40, I have money saved up for when I'm 80. I don't have to depend on another person. Real estate industry owes me royalty for giving them all that extra business.
I'm Aabha Bakaya, and on the show this week we've got Devita Saraf of Vu Television. She's someone who carved a niche in the luxury technology space far before it was even a thing. Her story is amazing, and she's someone who's full of wit, candor, and really somebody who paves the way for herself. So we're going to have some fun or what? I have been interviewing this girl since the start of her career.
Very long time.
Yeah, I remember your first store in Nariman Point, and you had these like apple-shaped TVs.
Yeah,
Do you remember that?
Oh my God, that was like 100 years ago. We still love art. We still love
You can see it. Yeah.
tech and making all of it together. But it's been a long journey. I remember we had this show called, I think on Bloomberg, it was The Date.
It
We
was
were
The
sitting in
Date.
a restaurant together and we just became such good friends after that.
Absolutely. And it's great to see you grow from strength to strength. So we're looking today, you've crossed the 1,000 crore mark. I remember there was a time when, you were aiming at it. Now you're way past it. You're at the height of your career. You've expanded, to globally in terms of your numbers, your reach, your brand awareness. What does it feel like for you today? I mean, are you content? Are you looking at the next thing?
I don't think contentment is something that has ever been a challenge for me. I'm not someone who really compares myself to others and feels any sense of dissatisfaction. I think for me, my contest has always been with myself. How do I get better, cooler, newer, smarter, richer, wiser? So in that perspective, I will say that the growth that the company has had has actually been very interesting because we've been able to build very strong fundamentals, especially with the asset base we built, the finances that we have, the supply chain, the team, the brand awareness. But at the same time, I would say keeping it very young and cool and, just always redefining ourselves, which forces us to keep thinking maybe like a Gen Z today. And also since I own 100% of the business, making sure that the business aligns very clearly once I've paid my vendors and my team their salaries, it aligns very closely to my goals of what I want.
Love it. No, and I think it's really important you mentioned that because I think today in the entrepreneurial world, we're seeing a lot of funded startups grow from strength to strength, but you're completely self-made. And I want to talk about that because I mean, I know you had your dad's, in the sense you had not backing, but you had someone who had been in business who could perhaps guide or mentor you. But this business you completely started on your own.
So actually what happened was I was training to be in business from the time I think I was like 4 years old.
Oh my God.
So I used to
just at home, just the way everyone would talk about it.
No, I remember I used to come back from school and I used to sit on like my grandfather's work desk at home because all of us Marwadis love to work from home. And I used to go and I used to sit and he used to like teach me like, some basics about, I remember as a 9-year-old learning what's profit and loss, etc. Wow. And I found the world very interesting compared to all that physics, chemistry in school that I officially never used.
A woman who likes business.
I liked business. I loved it. I absolutely thrived in business school. I went to USC, LSE, Berkeley, and then HBS.
Yeah.
And then I was working with my dad at Zenith, which has been fabulous because the team and the brand is, well-respected, really iconic brand. But I think the child of an entrepreneur cannot be a professional manager.
Right.
The child of an entrepreneur will also be an entrepreneur.
True.
So when I was 24, I said, you know what? I feel like there is a shift in the Indian market. There's an opportunity to make something more lifestyle-oriented, which is when I wrote the business plan for Vu and called it View Luxury and Technology, which in those times were like an oxymoron.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's how we started with our lab and team and built it. So I do come from what people would call being a Nepo baby. But I will say in a way that I'm kind of like an independent, hardworking Nepo baby. Just having the background of a rich father is not going to guarantee these days not only success, also longevity.
Right. No, I think we've seen that. I've seen you really work hard at building the brand and scale. And also I've seen you put yourself out there as an entrepreneur, which was very novel at the time. You were also the model for your own brand. And I know that became very controversial at one point. I remember, and I remember this because she's also a fashionista, as you can tell, and we'll come to that. But I remember there was this front page ad once. Wasn't there?
So actually what happened was, as the business started to grow, our partners and one of the major retailers said, why don't you get a brand ambassador? And so they had approached, I think, Shah Rukh Khan or one of them, who said that they will come in for about 15 crores. That time the company's revenue was 100 crores. So if I gave him 15% of my business of 10 years of work for like that one ad, it didn't make sense. So I had actually shot a picture for a magazine story that my team took the picture and put it in this ad. And somehow everybody was like, you know what, this works great, let's do it, etc. And so we published it in the front page of the newspaper. This was 8 years ago. And I think all like the Marwari uncles and actually all the uncles and aunties like spat out their morning tea, like saying, oh my God, as this, first of all, they made their daughter the CEO and now she's even the model. And so it was such a rare thing, you know, Aabha, that Forbes International did a story calling me India's model CEO.
I remember this.
And then me being the opportunist entrepreneur decided to really roll with it. And then suddenly I'm doing like magazine covers and ramp walks and collabs with luxury brands, which let me tell you, that time nobody had done. Like, I will say I paved the way for women in so many things. I was the first person to do a cover, first person to do a ramp, or first person to do a hosting of a luxury event, first person to do a collab. So I think being that pioneer entrepreneur was part of me. And even being the face of it, honestly, I just absolutely is very like in tune with who I am. So it's not like someone pushed me to do it. But when the chance happened, I just took it.
I remember some of your first two events as well. You had one really fabulous one with Dior, and you had so many since.
Yes, absolutely.
But do you feel that you got your due at the time, or do you think that women somehow, and I mean, of course, today the world has changed and there's a lot more opportunity across gender. But do you feel it was tougher at that time to perhaps get recognition for some of the things that you were doing because you were carving a new space?
Yes. I think there was definitely a lot of pushback when I used to deal with the overall, I would say, media at that time, who, and this has always been a very larger message to me, were the only people they would showcase on the front face would be entertainers, Bollywood actors, singers, dancers, whatever. And I always used to say that, you know, in the US, if you ask a kid, what do you want to be? Their answer will be like, well, I want to be like, I don't know, Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or Bill Gates or something. But in India, it's like, meko Ranveer Singh banne ka hai. And I said, why do India people not aspire to be leaders and entrepreneurs? So in getting and creating those opportunities to even be the face of it, not only did people don't know what to do with me, I was probably the first woman in India to even get a stylist or a photographer on the business side. And they had never worked with someone.
It wasn't cool on the business.
It wasn't cool.
Yeah.
I remember Fortune magazine wanted to run a story on me. And I was wearing this yellow Obama suit on like this very traditional looking table, wooden table, to show this whole oxymoron. And back then they were like, no, we can't cover it, it's Fortune. I'm like, listen, this is who I am. If you want to cover it, put it out there. Became actually a very strong feminist message, because I think traditional business media, it's all about this very Hillary Clinton image of, or like sari clad, you know, very strong women. Whereas young doesn't aspire for someone who is more interesting, colorful, feminine, has a good balance in their life. So what initially was my vision that people maybe didn't appreciate or get, I stuck with it, but today has become the norm. And so I feel happy that I could
be catching up.
I feel like now I'm thinking, what do I do next new? Since all my great ideas are getting copied.
That's what I was asking, you know, because, and I saw you were at Milan Fashion Week recently. Looking gorgeous. I mean, that's fabulous.
Yeah, it's always fun. I think one thing that Instagram always does for you is that it just puts a lot of like visual dreams in your head. You know, it shows places and things and all that. You just start imagining yourself. So actually, I was in Milan to buy furniture for a new house. And that's when Fashion Week was there, and I happened to go for it. And it was just beautiful. And I love the fact that women today don't have to be slotted into like, oh, I'm attending this business conference only. We can mix it up with, you know,
and we have that advantage.
A fashion show and a business panel.
True. So do you feel that some of this at the time or earlier was, you know, that's when people would love it, but they wouldn't take you seriously as a businesswoman?
Yeah.
Right? Today, has that changed, or is there still some element of that? I mean, I know women are of course respected across different professions, but in the business space, if you're also seen kind of enjoying, you know, the glamour and fashion and all of that, have we evolved yet in terms of perception?
See, I think all entrepreneurs are opportunists at heart.
Right.
So what I felt is this very like fun young image of mine made my competitors really underestimate me. So we could sort of go under the radar, and people would be like, yeah, okay, you know, maybe it's like some family business or maybe this young startup or something. Till we became this behemoth and literally kicked everyone's ass, we could nicely be taken as a company that didn't look threatening. So I used to feel that in a business meeting, instead of getting offended that the person's not taking me seriously, I used to actually ask them more questions and that way get a lot of intel into their business and then use it against them.
I love it. I love it.
Strategy. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think one of the most fun things as a woman is when you can, you know, surprise people. So, you know, it's okay once in a while in a meeting, you're like playing to the male ego and being damsel in distress and taking that info and then leading it on there. Boom. This bomb went under you now. You didn't even know what you got yourself into.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, but I never saw this side to you so much. Like, I think the feminine side, because I think it's always a stereotype, right? That if a woman is out there and succeeding and building, that somehow she's more of a man's girl than, you know, than a...
Yeah. I mean, to be very honest, one thing which, but in a way, I will say it's a bit true. I think there are some women who just genuinely support other women. And then there are some who take other women as competition. I mean, I can tell you I had like this big fat birthday party that you missed like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw some gorgeous pictures.
And and I mean, I didn't have much time to plan it because we also had another View launch. But on like this massively rainy day in Bombay, there were like 93 of my friends who turned up.
Yeah.
Now, they didn't come because I'm somebody. They came for me because I'm their friend.
Yeah. And 93 women.
93 women. Yeah, it was all women's branch. And I love making my friends meet other friends of mine. I'm not insecure that way.
We always meet like that.
You guys will really get along. So I love doing that matchmaking with women. And some of my friends actually told me that, you know, you're actually very secure in yourself. So you don't have a problem if your two friends meet and then hang out. You don't get offended if you're not part of it. And I said, why should I? I mean, I think I have a type when it comes to women. I like strong, outgoing women. And I love when they hang with each other. So I've always been like this girl's girl at heart. I think most of my friends are women. And I've never struggled in being, I'm anyways not a competitive person.
Right.
So I've never struggled in being jealous or being overly competitive or anything with all of them. I personally feel happy when I'm surrounded by successful, smart women. I feel happy to mentor young people. I mean, you and I have been champions of each other for more than a decade.
Yeah.
And it's never been about taking away from each other. So I think when women understand that there's no point of being successful or there's no point of being this women leader if you can't even hold friendship with other women.
True. Gosh, Devita, sounding so wise now, right?
You didn't know it, but you know it.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. Okay.
Thanks. As if I never was earlier. Again, don't let the package fool you.
Yeah, exactly. So now, I think, if I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure you met Trump when he was around.
I did.
Right? I know you met Prime Minister Modi, possibly to be President Trump. You've met all these global leaders.
Yeah.
Right? What's your takeaway? What did you think of these two in particular, or any of the other sort of, you know, global personalities you've come across? Anything you can share with us? And did you take away from those meetings in terms of anything around leadership, or were you just sort of or was it just intriguing meeting these people who are on the world stage?
Yeah, I think, you know what, honestly, there's one subject that's genuinely interested me since university days, and I've taken classes, and it also has been leadership.
Yeah.
I think when people look at leadership, they tend to only think of political leadership. The business leadership is another kind of leadership. So throughout my life, I've always enjoyed meeting people who are either political leaders in India and abroad. I've had the fortune to meet everyone from Dr. Manmohan Singh to Prime Minister Modi in person. Of course, many people from the cabinet. In the US also, I've met, ex-President Trump and whatever November decides, Nikki Haley, a couple of others. And of course, the likes of Satya Nadella and Richard Branson, etc. I've always been invited for these things, and I go and I speak to them. And the one thing that I've noticed about very successful people is that they may be surrounded by so many people, but they actually are all of them are very focused on you when they're talking to you. They're all mostly encouraging. I mean, Donald Trump and I were talking about fathers and daughters in business. Richard Branson and I were talking about, Sir Richard, we're talking about how you can influence and change the people around you. And he said that don't change the world, change the 5-kilometer circle around you.
I like that.
Yeah. And when I asked him questions on being the face of your business, I really admire that they are not the kind, none of the leaders have ever been the kind to say that they're busy or be distracted or make you sound like you're not an important person. Sure. I think what makes leaders is that whoever they're with, they're truly focused on them. And most of them see women and they're very encouraging. So I've never had any kind of bad experience when I meet successful people. What surprises me today is a lot of people who I meet who've not grown so much in their careers are the ones who are busy,
right,
or looking at their phone when talking to you,
yeah,
or don't reply or whatever it may be. And I'm just like, you know what? This doesn't show that you're important.
Sure. No, I
agree. A person who makes the other person feel heard is important. So that's one thing that I really admire about whatever 15, 16 leaders I've met in my life. All of them have that one trait of giving you their full attention.
No, I agree. I feel like some of the most, senior leaders I've met have also been incredibly humble.
Yeah.
I think,
completely. That's, I think that's undeniable.
Such an amazing quality. What's next for you as a business, as a brand? What's exciting? Or what were some of the recent milestones for those who may not fully know your journey? Share with us, what's exciting you at the moment.
I think honestly, it's been a long journey and there are many areas in which I wanted to focus. I felt personally that for women in India, what's happening is that they are growing professionally, but they're not growing so much personally.
Sure.
So you will find even the likes of an Indra Nooyi talking about I don't know, her mother or mother-in-law or someone giving her a hard time.
I saw that.
And so I've actually been talking to UNICEF to partner with them on how we can change the societal norms for women in India so that we aren't just giving them empowerment in the office, but also they get that same equality at
That's home. So important.
And I felt that was very important for me personally. One of the decisions I took in my business in the past few years, and this may sound like very counterintuitive, because we've not taken any outside investment, so it is my own money. But I decided, for example, to build a 401k and invest in my retirement. So already by the age of 40, I have money saved up for when I'm 80. Wow. I don't have to depend on another person for that. The second thing I decided as a young woman is that this whole mindset of going from father's house to husband's house. So actually, Aabha inspired me. She doesn't know this. But I visited Aabha many times when we were hanging in Mumbai. And I got inspired by you and bought a home for myself. And I think that's now become the trend. So a bunch of my friends have bought their own multi-million-dollar houses. And so the real estate industry owes me royalty for giving them all that extra business. And then I think overall for me, it's about really blending and building the life that I want around the business. Because the business is the platform. So I see this very dangerous message today amongst young men and women where this hustle culture is all about ignoring their own friends, family, health, happiness, just to show how hard they're working. I think it's important that your business is there for you.
Yeah.
It's important that you're taken care of, whether it may be giving you the time to do the things you want, the money to do the things you want. And so your business...
I love how you put that, actually.
Yeah, and that's something that even I learned when I was at Harvard, that, as a business owner and not just a business manager, it's important to see what is it that you need that your business gives you.
Yeah.
If I like the fame and glamour and power, then I like being in a consumer business that gives me that.
Sure.
If I like a business where I can control how I run it, then it's better maybe not to do an IPO.
Right.
But you kind of have to design your life and then your business around it, rather than saying that, I just got carried away in this hectic entrepreneur journey.
True, absolutely. And I love how you put that. You answered like about 6 questions in one.
I'm getting used to Aabha interviews now.